Montgomery Blair High School is the largest public school in the state of Maryland. Blair has a capacity of around 2,800 students, and it's currently at an occupancy of around 3,600 people, with around 300 of those being faculty. Overcrowding has been a problem at Blair since 1990, which is every year besides the release of the new building. The U.S. Department of Education defines an overcrowded school as one where enrollment is 5% above the design capacity. Well, Blair is 11% above the design capacity. Studies have shown that overcrowding makes it harder for students to focus and also increases disruptions in schools. We spoke to English teacher Ann Rubinovitz to get her take.
I mean, you can see this classroom is, the front row of desks is pressed really tight. I don't know that all these classrooms were designed necessarily to have the numbers of students that we have currently. And that's another thing that's risen, over time since I've been in the county. The maximum size for classes keeps going up, and that's a problem not only with COVID, but also each student gets less individual attention the larger the class is. This is going to sound funny, but it's hard to even get a restroom break in between classes because there's so many people in line waiting to use the bathroom, and part of it is also the amount of time in between. It always feels very rushed to try and do what you need to do.
Besides students and teachers, building service staff are also affected by the issue of overcrowding. Building service members are required to do more work as a result of the increased student population, but also as a result of the ongoing global pandemic, which has further increased demands on building service workers. Here's what building service manager Mr. Funk had to say about the overcrowding issue.
The last thing I heard, they had 2,000 students a year into MCPS. The growth in Silver Spring area has obviously been a big part of why our population is growing.
Overcrowding has also forced some teachers to move their classrooms into portables. The amount of students per class has also increased as a result. Montgomery Blair High School has had to build even more portables over the past couple of years to accommodate for the increasing student population.
So what does having more portables mean for the maintenance and building service staff?
It just means more work. They're a little more difficult to maintain because they're not attached to the building. MCPS has not adjusted any staffing levels for that. So in our case, there's 18 additional classrooms that need cleaned, and the existing staff have to figure out a way to do that.
So what's the cause of overcrowding in our public school system, and especially at Blair? Well, there are a couple of factors. Number one would be an increase in the population of the surrounding area, which also leads to an increase in demand, or the size of the student body, and a shortage of teachers. Finally, there's the fact that students in the Down County Consortium, or the DCC, can actually choose which high school that they'd like to go to. Let's talk a little bit more about this. The DCC selection process is one of the main things that contributes to Blair's overcrowding situation. In 2004, the Down County Consortium selection process was established. Basically, all 8th grade students in the Down County Consortium area who have any of the DCC high schools as their home school actually have to fill out a form with their top choices for schools that they want to go to. MCPS states that every effort will be made to assign students based on the lottery factors to their first choice. MCPS calls the selection process preferred selection. Critics of consortia and MCPS argue that both the Northeast and the Down County Consortium have neither improved academic performance nor provided socioeconomic and racial balance, the latter of which being the original reason for the establishment of consortia by the county. So, if this has been happening at Blair for upwards of 20 years, what has Blair been doing about this? Well, to put it frankly, there hasn't been much progress made. The administration has tried in the past to put regulations and limits on the amount of students that they let in per freshman class. And in the first year of overcrowding, 2004, they actually put a cap on DCC enrollment from outside of Blair's base area. But because Blair is a highly regarded and renowned school in MCPS, it is many students' top choice for DCC. And then on top of that, once you account for the 20% of extra students who come from the CAP and the magnet programs every year, it's easy to see why Blair is struggling so much with this overcrowding issue. There are ideas though. MCPS recently approved Northwood's complete building renovation. From 2003 to 2025, Northwood students are being moved to Woodward High School, which is a high school in Rockville that closed 34 years ago, and it's 9 miles away from Northwood. Simultaneously, Woodward will also be getting renovations and will reopen in 2005 once Northwood is done with its construction as a brand new high school. The reason for Northwood's new building is cited to alleviate the crowded situation at neighboring schools, which we can assume includes Blair. Woodward High School's renovation is still a big mystery to us, but we can only hope that it will help Blair overcome its overcrowding.